Over the past few years, mixed martial arts has overtaken boxing as the most popular combat sport in the world. This isn't too surprising considering how much drama appears to follow the fighters of the sport. So without further ado, let's take a look at the news stories that all MMA fans should know right now. Number 1, Dustin Poirier hints that he might be hanging up his gloves soon. For those of you who don't know, Dustin Poirier has been making waves over the last few months by working his way through the UFC lightweight division. In fact, he was the one responsible for sending Conor McGregor to the hospital on a stretcher after the former champion was forced to step back hard, breaking his left tibia in the process. It was a horrendous moment for McGregor fans, if there are any of those left, but saw Poirier clinching a second win in a row against the Irish contender. The third bout between these fighters has obviously had to be put on ice while McGregor heals up, but experts believe that Poirier pretty much has the third fight in the bag as well. This is mostly due to the hard work that the superstar puts into his UFC performances. Fans of Poirier are well aware that he is an 11-year veteran of the sport who has earned every opportunity that Dana White has put in front of him. But there's one opportunity that he has yet to be given, which is a shot at the title of UFC lightweight champion that is currently being held by the fearsome Charles Oliveira, who is considered to work just as hard as Poirier to maintain his incredible strength in the octagon. Poirier knows just how much of a challenge this fight will end up being. When talking about Oliveira a few weeks ago, the superstar said, "He's aggressive, very offensive with his jiu-jitsu. He doesn't just use it to protect himself or get out of bad positions. He attacks people with it and finishes fights with it. So he's a very dangerous opponent who has paid his dues and fought a long time in the UFC." Poirier has a lot of respect for Oliveira, but that doesn't stop him from wanting what Oliveira has. Poirier has already mentioned on a few occasions that being the undisputed world champion of the UFC lightweight division has always been the goal of his career. He then went on to say that once he has the title attached to his name, he would have literally done it all in the sphere of mixed martial arts. It's this last statement of his which has been interpreted by fans to mean that he is hinting at his retirement. There are, of course, many interpretations to the phrase "done it all," but more often than not it's used to describe how there is nothing left to do. Naturally, retirement would be next. That being said, we don't think that Poirier meant it like that. Once he has the title in his possession, he'll still have the opportunity to defend it, and we're expecting him to put up a pretty massive fight against whoever steps in his way. Once he's lost the title though, prospects of retirement become a lot greater. Although he is only 32 years old at the moment, the fans of the sport have given their own reaction to this apparent hint of Poirier's. This may not be what you think it is. There's no doubt that the man is on top of his game at the moment, with the defeat of Conor McGregor bringing him a slew of new fans who clearly want to see him fight more. That being said, his fan base has been pretty supportive of what he may want in the future. The overall theme that appeared on Twitter over the last few days is that fans would be highly disappointed to see Poirier retire so soon after becoming a flagship name of the sport, but that he essentially needs to do whatever makes him happy. It's not like mixed martial arts is the same as other sports. It's rooted in high-intensity combat with fighters putting themselves on the line each and every time they show up for a match. Look at McGregor, for example. If he had twisted his tibia even more than he did, he might not have been able to walk, severely influencing his future prospects. The positive fan reaction also has a lot to do with how Poirier will not just be disappearing off the face of the earth if he decides to retire from the game. You see, the man has a passion for hot sauce and has created his very own in the form of Poirier's Louisiana-style hot sauce. There's no doubt that fans will still be able to support the superstar, who will continue to have an incredible social media influence in an attempt to kick his hot sauce off the ground. Other fans have also pointed to the fact that Poirier will always have a piece in the sport as a coach or analyst as well, showing how he can continue things without being punched in the face so much. There were a few fans who didn't take this announcement too well. Their sentiment was very much summed up by the statement, "The fans want a title defending champion, not someone who will be champ and then retire. That's not right." While we agree that seeing Poirier defending his championship title is something that would make our hearts pump ever so faster, we do share the sentiments of the majority of fans by hoping that Poirier makes the best decision for him. Number 2, Israel Adesanya comes out swinging. Israel Adesanya, on the other hand, looks to be dropping hints that are the polar opposite to those dropped by Poirier. In fact, he ended up putting the the entire UFC middleweight division on blast a few nights ago when he ended up tweeting the following statement: "PSA middleweights, you're screwed. Another metamorphosis happened on my 30-second trip around the sun. Bottom line, it has come to my attention that I'ma need to #apply pressure on everything. But yeah, all the guys at 185 get better or get better excuses. Have a good day." Now, those are some fighting words from the reigning undefeated UFC middleweight champion, and fans have jumped on board to share what they feel about this upcoming metamorphosis that has been hinted at. One fan by the name of Dauntless, for example, responded that he hopes that Adesanya has been working on his grappling game, as after his fight with Jan and Vettori, opponents are well aware that this is where he's weakest. Other fans merely jumped on the bandwagon alongside their favorite fighter and gave him as much support as they could over Twitter. Shouts of "Let's go, champ," and "You said it" were commonplace responses, no doubt showing that Adesanya has quite a few fans in his corner. Another user by the name of Izzy's Ult commented that Adesanya was about to become the next mythical fighter, paying homage to how much the man behind the name loves and models his fighting style after the animes he grew up with. But not everyone was in Adesanya's corner. Critics and fans of other fighters chipped in by making fun of how arrogant the fighter had become since winning the middleweight title, with a whole bunch of negative responses going to name fighters that could easily wipe the floor with it. The main sentiment shared by these user accounts was that they simply couldn't wait for Israel Adesanya to be humbled soon, and that this was just a matter of time if he keeps on running his mouth like he is. As of right now, no professional fighter have responded to Adesanya just yet. This is probably because they fear the power behind the man's fists. We all know that we would. Number 3, Sean O'Malley has finally taken shots at the UFC. Then we have Sean O'Malley, who, after putting in a fight of the night worthy performance at UFC 264 by taking down Chris Montinho in the 3rd round, had a lot to say about the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Despite his incredible performance and massive blow-up in popularity as a result of the win, O'Malley has said that he actually feels quite disrespected by the UFC. He specifically took shots at Sean Shelby, the matchmaker of the tournament. When speaking about the strange situation on a podcast in the last few days, O'Malley had the following to say: "I don't even know if I'm supposed to say this. I was talking to my manager, and he was talking to Sean Shelby, and Sean Shelby was mad at me. Dude, I don't want to fight in New York. It's far. Taxes are ridiculous, and Tim has no-gi ADCC trials that weekend." And Sean Shelby was like, "Fine, go hang out with 6ix9ine, just acting like a tool." Calling one of the highest-ranking officials of your employer a tool is not the best way to go about being hired and given more promotions as the days go by. It's not like O'Malley thinks that the UFC even needs him. In fact, he has said on quite a few occasions that the UFC would be absolutely fine without him. Question is, would he be alright without the UFC, as things are looking a bit grim for O'Malley at the moment. Remember, earlier this year, he struck a nerve by voicing further opinions against the powers that be. He had quite a bit to say about the contract that the UFC had entered into with Reebok, which was, in his opinion, highly exploitative of him. Essentially, we believe that his beef with Shelby is very much the same as his beef with the UFC in general. The man feels like he is not being paid enough for the performances that he's putting in. Whether this is actually true or not, you'll have to decide for yourself, but O'Malley might have already planted the nails in his coffin by hitting back at the UFC again. What do you think of these news stories? Be sure to let us know, comment section down below.